Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there. Welcome to a blue-skied, sunny Friday, December 14th, Pittsburgh, PA, 2012. And lots of stuff to talk about today, and a lot of stuff that's sort of hanging over from past shows this week. Comments from you and others that I, if you don't mind, would like to share with you. The first is a result of I'm not sure if it's a rant I did here on the radio or the rant I did last Friday night on public television, the WQED show 4802. Airing tonight at 7:30, I might say, and I should be in attendance again, which I repeated on that program, that I just thought it was wrong to name the 16th Street Bridge after David McCullough, a man I admire, a writer whose books I have read almost all of, a man I have met and interviewed, as good a human being as you'd want to know, and worthy of having a bridge named after him for many, 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 many reasons. It's actually a very fitting tribute to this man. My feeling was, though, that when did we start naming things and building statues to people when they're still around? I mean, that's something you do to memorialize. Washington never saw the Washington Monument. Lincoln never saw the Lincoln Memorial. Jefferson never saw the... And you get the point. However, Joe Paterno saw his statue now, didn't he? Yeah. And you recall what happened to that statue? This is the problem of being too quick in our adulation of those who still live and breathe among us. So I thought it was, while it was fitting and proper, I thought it should wait until David McCullough shuffled off his mortal coil. My thoughts were in such a minority that this passed unanimously in county council, and in fact, the bridge will be named after David McCullough, and there should be big festivities sometime in July. I believe this is going to happen. I received an email from the council person behind this effort. I don't know if Barbara Daly Danko heard me on this show or heard what she obviously heard. And she wrote me, I don't know this woman, but I'm so impressed by her. She wrote me this unbelievably, first of all, it's not defensive. It's not angry, like, listen, you idiot, here's the, it is just this not filled with information letter about why she sponsored this legislation, and also talks about how she wrestled with the very idea of it being a little premature. And I because this is one of our elected leaders, and we're often so hard on them. And because I don't know her, I want to share this. To me, this was a positive, a real positive, okay? And it even won me over. She even got me. Okay, here it is. I'm emailing to give you some background on why I chose the path that led to the honorary naming of the 16th Street Bridge for David McCullough before he died. And trust me, I did wrestle with it. Catholics have a 5-year rule before naming someone a saint. And that seems to be a pretty good standard for sainthood and probably a good rule generally for bestowing this kind of permanent honor. That being said, this all began shortly after I joined county council, filling the seat vacated by Rich Fitzgerald when he ascended to the executive position. In the same meeting, it was September of 2011, I was confronted with 2 bills which sent my blood pressure soaring. The first bill had to do with making sure all workers under Allegheny County contracts were legal, i.e., the county would have to use the E-Verify system. That passed overwhelmingly. The second had to do with selling bridge naming rights, which I considered something akin to sacrilege. I just couldn't envision a McDonald's bridge, a Starbucks bridge, a Walmart bridge. Keep in mind that my husband, a retired teacher, wrote his dissertation on the development of American bridges. This bridge naming rights bill, which also passed overwhelmingly, required the county executive, Dan Honorato then, to study the issue and report back to county council. Both of these bills were sponsored by Ed Kress, who was then the at-large Republican. They sound very Republican, don't they? And they passed unanimously on county council. One corporatist and privatizing public property, and the other one suspicious of immigrants. Those are the 2 bills passed unanimously by our democratically controlled county council here in Allegheny County. Right there was more information in there than I could almost handle. And then I won't tell you the whole thing, but she goes on to say how a guy from Chalfant, Michael Connor, showed up before council in public comment time, and he's the one who said, I think you guys should name a bridge after David McCullough. So that's where it first came. And then Brian O'Neill, the columnist for the Post-Gazette, happened to have been with this gentleman, and he ended up writing a piece about it. And O'Neill said to her, you think you could sponsor that bill? And I said, I'd consider it, she said, and then yada, 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 and she didn't know, and blah, 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 blah. And then O'Neill wrote this column, and she said, more email than I have ever received on any topic. And all of them were positive, about people just extolling the virtues of David McCullough and his work, the work he's done here in Pittsburgh, especially with the History Center and the Carnegie Library, and his always positive message about Pittsburgh public schools, because he was educated. He says he got the most extraordinary education at Linden School, where my son went as well. And so she started to think, this is such a thoughtful woman. I don't know who she is. I mean, I know she's a county councilor, but wow. She then goes on to say, this is somebody who's such an active member of her community. God. She tells me that she ended up being in charge of a 50th anniversary celebration of the senior priest of St. Bede Parish. And it was the 50th anniversary of his ordination. And she said, Father Bryce is just universally loved. He has spent a lifetime doing good work. And she said it was a wonderful day for him, with hundreds of friends, parishioners, and family coming together to celebrate. And he truly loved it. And then she talked about a party being given for her husband as he retired and how he was able to enjoy in his life the admiration, the respect, the love of people whose lives he had touched. She still isn't sure, though. This is interesting. So this is somebody who, wow, this is someone who is thoughtfully fulfilling the responsibility of her job as a member of our county council. And she writes me this long, long thing. Me? Who? What? She heard I said something and, it didn't matter after the fact. What difference? She wanted to explain. Wow. All of these events led me, she says, to the discussion of whether or not we should wait until someone dies. Frank Lucchino, one of our old gray-beard statesmen in town, was one of the people who weighed in, saying, don't wait. That McCullough has done so much good and achieved so much that we should go forward now. And ultimately, that was the choice that I made. In my mind, it was also a way to change the topic from selling naming rights to bridges to honoring worthy individuals. And there you have it. It goes on and on and on and on and on. She says, I believe his work and the naming of the bridge will stand the test of time. I'm sure it will, too. My hope is also that the public schools might use this event to celebrate him and perhaps have some of the high schools reading one of his books. There is also such an appreciation for engineering in several of his books, The Johnstown Flood, The Great Bridge, that's about the Brooklyn Bridge, the building of that, The Path Between the Seas, which could serve to interest engineering students in history and liberal arts students in engineering. I have urged the county executive to include Linden School, the Carnegie Library, the History Center in the dedication ceremony. I would like to see not just a dedication, but something that fosters greater interest in the community in reading and history. I just wanted to give you more background, and we can agree to disagree on this one. If you ever want to meet for coffee or drink a toast to David McCullough, let me know. Isn't that nice? Barbara Daly Danko. Remember that name. I've seen it in print a few times, but I have to tell you, I wouldn't know her if she walked in the door, because, as you know, I tend to have an allergy to politicians, and it's maybe not warranted all the time, but for someone who does very often a political talk show, you rarely will hear a politician on my program, because they drive me nuts. I just can't take the hoo-ha they talk. I just can't. Got a lot of nice little pieces talking about KDKA and their audience and how they went nuts about Wiz Khalifa, but didn't seem to go nuts about any other recipient of a proclamation that in our memory. And Mary pointed out that she said, wouldn't you think they might have gotten nuts about when they gave the proclamation to Sharon Needles? I mean, the KDKA audience, because as Sharon Needles, who had won the RuPaul Drag Race, oh, God almighty. I mean, because after all, I don't know if she said that. No, Mary is not the one who said that. But the fact is they, yeah, here he said, I can't believe they didn't rant and rave about Sharon Needles. I would have assumed that the name itself would have been cause for alarm to KDKA's audience, let alone that she is a he. the kind of thing that makes their heads spin. Oh, God. So, okay. There we are. Oh, my. So much stuff. So little time. I was worrying about this, but the good news is in. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on I never watch these, a Barbara Walters interview special. What is this, her usual end-of-year most fascinating figures of the year or something? Anyway, she does one interview with the president. And she asks him if he supports legalizing pot. We were talking about this some yesterday in regard to Wiz Khalifa's endorsement of pot. And here's what President Obama said. I wouldn't go that far. But then pressed about, okay, but Colorado's gone that far. Washington State's gone that far. Their voters have legalized marijuana use, individual marijuana use. So that flouts federal law. What you going to do about it? And Obama says, it does not make sense from a prioritization point of view to focus on drug use in states where it is now legal. In other words, he's saying, I ain't going to bother with them, which is exactly the right answer. Exactly the right answer. Leave it alone. If the voters have spoken there, and this is such a, so that's good. He's not going to sick the Department of Justice on them. He's not going to sick, narcs on them, federal black-booted thugs from the federal government kicking down doors of pot-smoking people in Boulder. No, it ain't gonna happen. So that's a wise choice, if and you ask me. Oh, wow, look at this. Bill Peduto's running for mayor. That's a shock. He announced last night, says right here, City Controller Michael Lamb also is going to run. That'll be a shock, too. And so they'll do what they always do. They'll split the anti-incumbent vote, allowing the current mayor, Luke Ravenstahl, to coast into a third term. Mr. Lamb, may I just say, since Mr. Peduto was first out of the gate, why don't you sit on it? Just sit on it. Let him see if he can take Ravenstahl down. Okay? I did not attend Peduto's thingamajig last night because I was lighting what appeared to be 8-foot ice-sculptured Hanukkah menorah with Mayor Luke Ravenstahl. So he wasn't at Peduto's thing either. We were doing our own thing. The mayor lit a candle. I lit a candle. And I'm always so uncomfortable when I'm at these public events with elected officials and other bigwigs who I have, defamed in the last week or so. It's very uncomfortable, as you can imagine. I walk into a nice party or something, and there are, I scan the crowd, and I might see like 3 or 4 faces of people I have said nasty things about. And I'm thinking, I shouldn't go out. I really shouldn't go out. My friend who was with me made a beeline for the mayor, and she was talking him up, and I'm not coming with her. I'm going this way. I'm avoiding him like the plague, as I would suspect he would want me to. He doesn't want to pretend to be, oh, hi, Lynn. And I don't want to say, oh, hi, Mayor Luke. No, I don't want to. It's another reason I just can't I got to steer clear of these people. I really just do. drive me crazy. Peduto I bumped into the other day. I can't remember where that was, but I was ribbing him about running. And here, did I tell you this yesterday? This is something so weird. I'm reading a book right now, fascinating book. You will hear about it on Monday. Next Friday in a week. Oh, I've got a week to finish it. Okay. And it's written by a woman who passed through Pittsburgh. She is an extraordinary writer, and an actress, and a multi-talented individual, to say the least. I learned about one of you sent me a piece in Harper's Magazine about her and her book. And I looked at that article and then thought, wow. And then Jess very, very nicely tracked down the author and the book, and now I'm reading it. And so next Friday, this is a book. It's so hard to explain, but it's about the human voice, and it's about why certain utterances of our voices live on. That's partially what it's about. So that why, for instance, Howard Dean's scream, remember? After the Iowa caucuses, 2004, right? 2000? 2004. I can't remember. 2000.
2004.
2004? Yeah? Yeah. Howard Dean's scream was replayed and Saturday Night Live and God knows what. And, on his dying day, they'll probably play it again. And the scream was something that he delivered, part of his delivery to his supporters after he had come in third in the Iowa caucuses when he had largely, supposedly, been believed to be the front runner. So it was somewhat of a concession speech, and he was trying to make the crowd feel better, and he was saying, "We don't stop here. We're going on to New Hampshire and this and to that." And he started naming states. And then somehow, and we're going to the White House. And then he ended it with this weird scream, which she, when you're writing about screams, how do you spell them, Dean's scream she does with a B-W-A-H. Wah! Something like that. It would seem that an entire chapter on bois would be a bit much, but boy, does she pull it off. It's amazing. An entire chapter on Marlon Brando's Stella pulls it off. In the course of reading this book, at one point, and it's written in such an interesting way, all of a sudden there's this little page and it says, "The Candidate." And it's clearly somebody running for office who's talking about the strain on his voice. So all you do is talk. You talk from morning to night. You talk to large crowds. Then you end up in someone's living room and you're talking to 10 people. And then you're up in some da-da-da-da and you're blah, 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 blah. And your voice is going and you're telling the people, I can't talk anymore. And they're saying, you got to do it. There's only 3 days left. You just got to. And you think of Bill Clinton, how he always sounds toward the end of a campaign. He doesn't have a voice because it just destroys their vocal cords. And in the course of this candidate in her book speaking and recounting his memories of how hard this was, he says one particular night that ended up at the Beehive on the South Side. I'm standing on a chair, and I thought, what? The Beehive on the South Side? What do you mean? This guy who's talking ran in Pittsburgh, and never identified. But I went back to the, what do you call it at the end? The index, and sure enough, guess who she interviewed? Guess who's talking? The aforementioned Bill Peduto. And it's a very helpful thing he did, and it's included in this book. My understanding is before I get done with the book, I'm going to bump into Myron Cope, too, and I can imagine so in a book about voices and all of that. But wow, what a... please stay tuned for that one. And on top of it, it turns out that there is a Stella Scream contest held every year in New Orleans. And so contestants go up and they do their best. Stella! And the woman who wrote the book won the contest last year. The first woman to ever win the Stella contest. So she not only has this acute ear and brain and ability to write in the most engaging, wondrous manner about something so weird, but she also pulled off winning the damn contest, which her publisher said, hey, as long as you're writing this book, why don't you enter the contest? And she does and wins it. So anyway, that's coming up a week from Friday, and I didn't even mean to go into all of that. It was seeing Peduto that did it for me. I got to get a break in here, guys. Okay? Stay with me, I hope, and I will be right back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Discover the most beautiful you with smoother, brighter, and healthier skin. Sewickley Med Spa is now offering special holiday skincare packages for all skin types, including anti-aging, anti-blemish, and sun damage treatments. Not sure what to buy that special someone? Purchase a $100 gift certificate and receive an extra $10 free. Log on to SewickleyMedSpa.com for details. Sewickley Med Spa is conveniently located in downtown Sewickley at 435 Broad Street. Happy holidays from Sewickley Med Spa.
Rhyme so loud and proud, you hear it. It's Christmas time and we got the spirit. Jack Frost chilling, the hawk is out, and that's what Christmas is all about. The time is now, the place is here, and the whole wide world is filled with cheer. So open your eyes, lend us an ear. We want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year!
Happy holidays from Pittsburgh City Paper.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay, the news that Susan Rice has removed herself from contention. I use that word in more than one way. Contention in terms of the President's Secretary of State nominee. And in doing so, she wrote in her letter to the President, who's a very close friend of hers, I am convinced that the confirmation process would be lengthy, disruptive, and costly to you and our pressing national and international priorities. And she said that trade-off is simply not worth it. And you know what? I think she's right. I mean, I agree with that. I don't know much about Susan Rice. I've seen from her bio, she's brilliant, capable, a little prickly, good friend of the president's, has whatever. And I'm sure she was qualified. But for whatever reason, the Republicans decided to go at her. And as you know, like junkyard dogs, and especially wounded junkyard dogs, which is what they are, they were savaging this woman about something so picayunish that she had appeared on the Sunday talk shows and misled us about what had happened in Benghazi. Well, this Benghazi thing in general has been politicized to beat the band, but not in a way that accrued to their benefit. The only thing they've got to show for this insane focus on whether or not someone said it was a terrorist attack before they said it was this attack before. It's such an trumped up attempt to create a scandal where what you really have in front of you is a tragedy. Every tragedy is not a scandal. But she became the lightning rod, even though she had nothing whatsoever to do with how Benghazi played out. As our ambassador to the United Nations, I mean, Benghazi played out. If you want to drop it on somebody, you would drop it at probably General Petraeus's feet, as they had a CIA compound there. 2 of the dead are CIA operatives. And maybe at Hillary Clinton's feet as the Secretary of State. But Rice? No. Anyway, so here's what's troubling. So all they've got to show for this, their howling and raging, spit-flying, growling, sort of like way over the top, wounded junkyard dog Republicans, post-election now. So, Susan Rice won't be the Secretary of State. If that makes them go to bed happy, fine. Because they were going to hound her till the bitter end. To no purpose other than their own petulance. It is simply mind-blowing how, well, that's not a bad word I came upon there, how petulant and destructive the Republicans are now. They're, the word wounded is a proper term for them. This is a party in disarray. This is a party that's, who knows where it will head. This is not a unified party anymore. This is a party that is reeling, but it's still able to do one thing really well, and that is stand in the way. They are still unbelievably great at obstruction, at putting impediments in the way of moving forward. I happen to hear, I have to tell you, I thought that job should go to John Kerry. John Kerry, while not a great presidential candidate, John Kerry is smart as hell, serious as hell. He has spent a lifetime in this field of foreign policy. He's well known around the world. He's respected. He's well spoken. He wanted it. It would seem, for all the slings and arrows that he took from these damn Republicans, the swift boating crap, the lies they hurled at him, the way they diminished him and his service in the war and to our country. I like the idea of him elevated to the top diplomatic post in the country. So, assuming that it will be John Kerry now, frankly, he would have been my first choice to start with. I heard Dan Rather on Rachel Maddow last night suggesting darkly that this shows again that Obama can be rolled by the Republicans. Even in their wounded state, they can take him down. So even after Barack Obama wins, cleans their clock, wins by a very comfortable margin, as it turns out, the first thing he tries to do, like my friend Susan Rice, Secretary of State, they don't allow it. They don't allow it. So it does gall me that Obama is willing to let them have these petty little wins. You knew he wanted her in that job. You knew. But I also, the fact that he never nominated her really shows that he was unsure. She made the choice for him, and she did the right thing. But does it mean he can be rolled? It is something that we get nervous about with him. And now, at a point when he should be showing such strength, to lose this little thing, to let John McCain and Lindsey Graham gloat, is galling. But speaking of priorities, as he did about pot, and as she suggests, we got big things to do, let's not let this distract us. The fact of the matter is this, too, is not as important as what's on his plate right now. Although where the hell that's going, you tell me. How do you negotiate with obstructionists? How do you negotiate with people who don't know how to do anything but say no? How do you negotiate with anybody who is unwilling to put anything specific on a table? How do you do that? Beats me. Another sign that the Republican Party is in danger of a civil war of itself is one of the few brown-skinned Republicans has been saying things that clearly show he's trying to pull away from the loons. And the latest pronouncement from Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal is the following. Let's ask the question, why do women have to go see a doctor before they buy birth control? Two answers. First, and here's where he shows the Republican in him. First, because big government says they should, even though requiring a doctor visit to get a drug that research shows is safe helps drive up healthcare costs. And second, because big pharmaceutical companies benefit from it. They know the prices would be driven down if the companies had to compete in the marketplace once contraceptives were sold over the counter. So Jindal has come out saying that Republicans have been stupid on this issue and that he fully embraces the American College of OBGYN's call for over-the-counter sales of birth control and to get the whole issue of birth control out of the political arena. I thank you, Governor Jindal. So, there you have it. Now, could we have a bunch of Democrats saying the same thing, and could we perhaps do that? You've got the docs already saying this is what should be done. You have now a Republican saying it should be done. He's absolutely right. It does nothing other than make it hard for women to get birth control and enrich the pharmaceutical companies and drive up health care costs. So, tell me what the reason is we do it? Why the hell? Seems like a no-brainer. This could be an interesting few years on that front as some Republicans like Jindal try to pull that party away from their own cliff that some would say they've already gone over. But we shall see. We'll take another break, too. Be right back.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Winter has arrived and it's cold outside, so get to Little's for all your UGG needs. Little's has Uggs for men, women, and children to stay warm with shearling-lined boots, shoes, and slippers. And don't forget to get your hats, gloves, scarves, and more. All available at Little's Shoes. Bring the entire family to view one of the largest in-store UGG shops in the U.S. Little's Shoes, Pittsburgh's largest family shoe store, 5850 Forbes Avenue in Squirrel Hill.
I didn't know about chronic obstructive pulmonary disease until I took the wheel and lent my support to Drive for COPD. Help Americans take action against this leading cause of death by logging on to driveforcopd.org to learn more. I'm Nancy Cartwright, the voice of Bart Simpson, and I drive for COPD.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on your favorite local restaurants, museums, and shows. This week only, get discounts up to 65% on tickets to the Pittsburgh Symphony's Holiday Pops. bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's exclusive e-commerce mall. bergbargains.com.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn@pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
All right, great point made by Chuck in regard to Susan Rice, John Kerry. Lynn, he writes, I'm convinced that the persecution of Susan Rice has everything to do with replacing John Kerry's Democratic vote in the Senate with a GOP vote. With Rice out of the picture, Kerry becomes the likely nominee, and then and his nomination will pass with no objections. Massachusetts will then have to hold a special election, probably in the June. And it is widely expected, of course, that the outgoing senator, Scott Brown, who, as a matter of fact, said goodbye to the Senate yesterday, who was beaten by Elizabeth Warren, Democrat, that outgoing Senator Scott Brown will turn around and run again for the Senate from Massachusetts. And likely win. I don't know. So Chuck says what he thinks really happened is they wanted Kerry to be the nominee, not Rice. So they went after Rice, wounded her, so that in fact this was another brilliant maneuver on the part of the wounded junkyard dogs. Maybe so. And obviously it's a calculation that the White House would have been making as well. I'm not up to date on Massachusetts politics enough to know who the Democrats have there to take on Scott Brown, who will, I am sure, run again. He's a very attractive, I use that word in many ways, he's a very attractive candidate. The good news is he is as moderate a Republican as you have these days, but he's still a Republican, and he's a vote on their side, so you don't want him in. I wonder who, they run out of Kennedys? I don't know. So you sort of wonder who will take Brown on. I think a lot of people thought he couldn't be beaten by Warren, and she trounced him. So we'll see. We'll see. Hello, caller.
Hello, Lynn.
Yeah.
Real quick, Deval Patrick will run, and he'll beat him. Have a good day.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Deval Patrick. He's the governor. And he'll win? Well, let's think. Deval Patrick. We have any black senators right now? Am I forgetting somebody? I can't think of one. Then he would be the only black senator? Only 2 states. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think only 2 states in the Union have sent a black senator to Washington. And that would be the state of Illinois, which 3 times sent a black senator. I'm blanking on her name. Mosley Brown, Barack Obama, and then who was that idiot who replaced Barack Obama? Who was that? That? Huh? No, I'm not. No, I'm talking about the Senate. The guy that finally got appointed by the jailbird governor, whose name I can't remember either now. All of these. And the only other state, and again, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm often wrong, that has ever sent a black person to the Senate is the state of Massachusetts. So that bodes well maybe for Deval Patrick. That would have been a Republican. Okay, try to get your head around that. A Republican senator from Massachusetts named Edmund Burke, I think. And he was a moderate Republican, African American. I don't know. I would hope to. I'm bringing this up because I'm saying there is not a really good history in our country. Granted, we've elected a black person president, but at the state level, in a state election, there are not now. Patrick has already won the governorship of Massachusetts, which would lead you to believe he can win this Senate seat. Maybe they feel confident about that. Okay, so Deval Patrick, that'd be nice. I hadn't heard that, but that makes perfect sense. Thank you. I forgot all about him. It's another friend of Barack Obama's. Remember the good old days when it was like, take your dad to work day or take your daughters to work day? What was that thing? Take your daughters. And then that lasted for a day or two, and then there was a hue and cry that it discriminated against our sons. And then it was take your damn kids to work day. It doesn't matter who they are. And I'm looking at a Republican proposal that appears ready to probably pass in 4 states, and it is take your gun to work. Well, why, Jazz? Don't give me that look. And while you're taking your kids, take your guns. They go so well together. All right, this isn't the latest thing from Alec, the Legislative Exchange Council, commandeered by, the corporations, the Koch brothers and all those that write up these bills and then send them to the states like ours that are filled with voters who only come out every 4 years and vote for presidents and then let the Republicans take over their state government. So this is coming to Pennsylvania. It's one of the states here. The measure, which would allow employees to bring guns to work. And by the way, this puts 2 of the Republicans' constituencies, you mean they actually have 2? Yeah, they have 2 at loggerheads. That would be the NRA and the business community. Because most business leaders really, I think, don't want their employees coming to work with guns. But I think the NRA trumps any constituency when it comes to the Republican Party. So, the measure would allow workers, and here are the 4 states. What company we're in, guys. This is what happens when you elect Republicans, and Harrisburg is home to them. We join Alabama, Tennessee, and South Carolina. And let's throw in Pennsylvania because it is as red a state as those are when it comes to state government. Republican House, Republican Senate, Republican governor, thanks to the somnolent voters of the Commonwealth. What's that you say? There's an election. I thought we just elected Obama. No, this is for like your state rep. Oh, who cares? That's it. That's what you get. The measures would allow workers in Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Pennsylvania to keep weapons at work. We would then join 17 other states that have already passed this measure. And the National Rifle Association continues. It's like Sherman marching through the South. It's just... do they ever lose? Do they ever lose? I don't think so. Amazing. Amazing. Okay, well, is today the day that commercials have to be the same audio level as, I think it's today that it kicks in. It was yesterday. Did you notice anything? So when you were watching television, does this apply to must apply to TV and radio, and you know how sometimes you're watching and then the volume goes way up on the commercials? That is now illegal. This bill was signed apparently 2 years ago by the president, but it took that 2 years for it to get implemented. Because I guess the FCC said it was a more complicated thing, blah, 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 da, da, da. But so there it is. New rule that lowers the volume on commercials is now in effect. Oh, we should go to a commercial now and blow them out of the water. Because that doesn't apply to us. See, I am not under the control in any way, shape, or form of the Federal Communications Commission. Because I am on the free and easy World Wide Web, where there is no law. No law whatsoever. All right, is there anything else I want to talk to you guys about? Another young soldier from here has been killed in Afghanistan. Our guys are getting hit here, huh? And this is another special op type. It's a Green Beret. A few days ago, we lost a special op guy who was part of the rescue effort of that American doctor, and he was from Monroeville. And now we've lost a Green Beret. Actually, the Department of Defense has not even released his name yet, but the family is talking. And this is Major Benjamin Follansbee of O'Hara. Many, many tours of duty, 31 years old. His father, a very well-known cardiologist, Dr. William Follansbee. God almighty. Okay. So, guys, can we ease it up now and talk about the Golden Globe Awards? I got a lot of movies I have to see. Dang it. Why do they do this where all the movies that win haven't even played here? I can't even, you don't have an opinion, or they played here for one day and then are gone. Lincoln, obviously, is taking the lion's share. And I don't know if you saw it. It's a very good movie. I don't know if it's a great movie. I would say that Daniel Day-Lewis deserves the nomination without a doubt. And he was nominated for Best Actor. Tommy Lee Jones is brilliant in it. Best Supporting Actor. Sally Fields is Mary Lincoln's Best Support. The screenplay, absolutely. That's Tony Kushner. The ubiquitous John Williams, nominated for score, and who did I forget? And Steven Spielberg for direction. They got all the biggies, and of course, Best Picture. A movie that's gotten quite a few nominations, which I saw half of the other day, is puzzling to me, and that is what's the name of that movie? The Silver Linings Playbook.
Oh, I really wanted to see that.
Okay, Silver Linings Playbook. I was watching, I went to the movie the other day to see it, and the power went out.
You were there.
I was there. It's so funny. It was at the Manor Theater in Squirrel Hill. Before the Manor sort of got itself modernized, and relatively recently, it still had projectors. And, every other movie you went to, it's digital, it's this and that. But you go to the Manor, and it became a joke with me and my friends that you didn't expect to see the movie all the way through, or you didn't expect to see it without interruption. Because you'd be totally into a movie, and then all of a sudden you see sprocket holes on the screen, and you see the film just sort of like drop off, and then things go black, and then somebody comes in and says, we got to rewire them. And then the best one I saw, though, is that literally the film burst into flames. You're watching a movie, and all of a sudden you see it melt. It melted on the screen. And so actually, since they've modernized, I have gone there feeling, well, at least I can go in and know that I'm going to see an entire movie. So about halfway through this one, when Jennifer Lawrence was just about to explain to Bradley Cooper what happened when her husband died, it went black. And I guess the power went out in Squirrel Hill.
For hours.
For hours it was out?
Greenfield.
All over Greenfield, too? Okay. So that's what happened. And I used to get these things all the time. I now have a little free pass. But I have to tell you, that movie was cute. I didn't think it was any movie that should be getting Academy Award buzz. I'm serious. And Robert De Niro getting another nomination for a part he's playing that looks like every part he's played for the last... I couldn't tell the difference between De Niro doing this and De Niro doing that Fockers crap. Plays the same old, contentious, crusty... Why? It's stupid. And one of my favorite movies didn't get anything. And that is, what was that? The Southern Beasts of the Southern Wild. That was an extraordinary movie. So the idiots who give out the Golden Globes, by the way, is the Foreign Press Association. And it's made up of about 80 people. And it's been pointed out before. This is the group where Ricky Gervais, is that how it's pronounced, was emceeing it. And he just totally slandered the the Foreign Press Association that was in fact paying his wages and putting on the thing. And amazingly, they invited him back the next year, which was shocking. But he was right then. They're out of their minds. They apparently just like stars. So they want to have this great dinner. And apparently the Golden Globes dinner is the best. Everybody just drinks through the whole thing and people get happy and drunk and silly. And they like to see the biggest stars. So I don't know. Everyone in the running for actor and actress, both comedy and serious, both supporting and lead, are white. Except one. Jamie Foxx. And it's not Jamie Foxx. The movie he's in, Django, got a ton. But not him. And he's the lead. A little surprising, I am sure. No, the only black person who the Foreign Press Association thought worthy of a nomination is Denzel Washington for Flight. Did you see Flight? I don't know. It doesn't seem like anything I want to see either. So there you have it. The best, you probably already know this. Argo was nominated for Best Drama, and it is an excellent movie. Django Unchained. That's Quentin Tarantino. He got Best Director nomination. Somebody else in it got. There were a number of acting nominations, but not the lead. Not Jamie Foxx. Life of Pi was nominated for Best Drama. Tom Sokolowski was telling us yesterday he thought it was delightful. He said it was beautiful. Beautiful movie. Lincoln and Zero Dark 30, which is the movie I don't want to see, about apparently the celebration of waterboarding and the killing of Osama bin Laden. I don't know. Stupid. And one of the movies that I want to see that got both its actors nominated played here in Pittsburgh for 1 week at the Manor. I don't think it showed anywhere else, and that was The Sessions. Nominated Helen Hunt and nominated John Hawkes. And this is that movie based on a true story of a paralyzed man having sexual therapy. And Helen Hunt plays the sexual therapist. It's supposed to be marvelous. Didn't see it. It was here. It was gone. Oh, well, never mind. Anyway, all that stuff. I love movies, but there are a lot of crap out there, I'll tell you, and not necessarily the right movies seem to win. A lot of people thought Magic Mike would get some nominations, got nothing.
Really?
Did you see it, Magic Mike?
Yeah, but I wouldn't nominate it.
Oh, I like seeing those guys dance. Okay, so that's it. That's it for me. And so Monday, I don't have a guest. I was thinking that author was Monday. So Monday, no one. And then full guests the rest of the week. My sister, Potter, Sokolowski, and then this marvelous, marvelous author on Friday. So good week. You have a great weekend. Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.